Today is Victory in Europe Day.
Just as I have a dream.
A salute from Mr. Nelson Mandela.
And Mrs. Thatcher.
Okay, so welcome back to Systems Reimagined. We have taken a little bit of a temporary break, I guess, but today I'm joined by Samuel to, again, once more unpack some of the bigger news stories of the week. This week we'll be primarily focusing on the 2021 budget presented by yours truly, Rishi Sunak. And then we're going to speak a little bit about Joe Biden and the US and just some things going on there with regards to Amazon unionization, airstrikes in Syria, and the $15 minimum wage being cut, which is, a bit of bad news, I won't lie. And then we'll do also a little bit of a PMQs analysis. Won't lie, just from a personal point, a bit unexpected. I didn't think we'd go down those paths this week, but we'll unpack that a bit later on. As always, like, subscribe, comment, all that stuff. Share our videos. We grow because of it, so that's always a good situation. And then with that, I'll leave it to Samuel to start us off with the budget.
Okay. Recently, actually yesterday, Rishi Sunak announced the budget for 2021. It was much anticipated, due to, how we're going to deal with this current crisis and moving forward, how will it further shape the economy for the next few years moving forward. So it was a highly anticipated release. And I have a few key points that I wanted to go over that I thought were quite vital, which you'll be able to see on our screen. So the first one is an extension of the coronavirus job support scheme to September 2021 across the UK, an extension of the UK-wide self-employment income support scheme to September 2021, with 600,000 more people who filed a tax return in 2019, 2020, now able to claim for the first time. 6-month extension of the £20 per week universal credit uplift in Great Britain, with the Northern Ireland executive receiving additional funding to match the increase. Maintaining the income tax personal allowance and higher rate threshold from April 2022 until April 2026, to balance the need to raise revenue with the objective of having an internationally competitive tax system. The rate of corporation tax will increase to 25%, which will still remain the lowest rate in the G7. Businesses with profits of 550,000 or less, which is around 70% of actively trading companies, will continue to be taxed at 19%, and the taper above £50,000 will be introduced so that only businesses with profits greater than £250,000 will be taxed at the full 25% rate. The £275 million UK-wide future fund breakthrough, which will invest in highly innovative companies such as those working in life sciences, quantum computing, or clean tech, that are aiming to raise at least 20 million of funding. Over 1 billion funding for further 45 towns in England through the Towns Fund, supporting their long-term economic and social regeneration, as well as the immediate recovery from the impacts of COVID-19. And from the beginning of April 2021, there'll be a new super deduction, which will cut companies' tax bill by 25p for every pound they invest in new equipment. This is worth around 25 billion to UK companies over the two-year period. The super deduction will be in full effect. So that was just from the government website, just breaking down.
I got one also key point, or I guess, just something to add there.
Yeah.
Also, minimum wage set to increase to £8.91 an hour from April. And then in terms of, environmental things, we covered this before, the 12 billion. And then, also 15 billion in green bonds. So those are just some other things that I had ready. So what do you think about it? I'm from my perspective. Hey, you go.
No, you can go.
Well, from my perspective, some things I feel like are a bit of a, just pretty standard. Okay, you would expect it. The furlough thing, expected. I feel like.
Yeah.
I'm happy that the universal credit is being continued. I saw criticism on. I saw a Guardian article, I think it was, criticizing the idea of continuing the universal credit uplift, saying that it should be phased out. But I don't know why you do that.
Yeah.
And then yeah, I think overall, look, it's okay. I think the Tribune had a pretty good article on it when it came to discussing the public sector compared to the budget. There's a lot of like, where is any NHS funding or any NHS raising?
Yeah.
Looking at this YouGov poll, which I put on screen now, which showed that 47, like it basically showed the way how NHS workers think we should thank them for, how they contributed so greatly to this, to saving us from this pandemic. And 47% of them said they would want to increase in pay, which makes so much sense because they genuinely helped us out so much. And then, yeah, just in general, there was a public sector freeze with regards to pay, which is a bit mental considering that public sector workers were the ones that really, managed to keep the country going and stuff. And the idea is there's a freeze in pay over there. It's just, I don't know, to me sounds a bit ridiculous.
Of all sectors of the economy, it should be the one.
Yeah.
It should ultimately be rewarded for the work that they've done, throughout this past year, so
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I can get into some of the positives, as you said. I mean, the fact that they extended furlough, which is, I mean, it's obvious, but it's important, especially the fact that they want to extend it to September, because this is even after the initial end of all like lockdown rules, which is set to be in June. They're looking to extend that, and I guess it is to do a slow phase out of the furlough scheme, instead of like a shock therapy for companies right after the economy opens up, because still, regardless, it will take a while for these companies to recover. So I think it makes sense to increase it a bit later than instead of just cutting it right away as soon as the economy opens up to its fullest. So I guess it is common sense, but it is a good thing.
Yeah.
Another positive thing is the increase in corporation tax.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a lot of argument, especially on the left, like the fact that it's only going to increase in 2023.
Yeah.
Some people say it because there's argument. I mean, I understand the argument saying that you don't want to do it right away because then ultimately it might affect investment that's needed right after the pandemic.
Yeah.
And they want to just slowly increase the tax rate and just ease it, as I said, and not deter, like, not steer away too much investment. Yeah. But on the other hand, you could argue that you can raise the taxes right away, and then through like public investment or public services, you can reinvest the tax money right away, and that will benefit people materially instantly. So there is, I get the two arguments for that, but I think regardless it is a positive aspect, and it is a switch from like the Tory orthodoxy of economy. They've shifted away. It's kind of I mean, we'll talk about it later, but because ultimately Richie's still trying to balance the books to some degree, but it is a shift away from low taxes and some form of austerity. They realize that the low taxes doesn't necessarily mean so much more investment.
Yeah,
and they realize that you have to increase corporation tax in times like this. So it is in that aspect is positive.
Also, something I want to touch on real quick, just about that. Like, I feel like we're going to discuss labor's reaction, I feel like, to the idea of increasing corporation tax, because I feel like it's something that me and you are both not going to be too happy about. But, I also say with regards to just media coverage when it comes to the covering of or the idea of increasing corporation tax, like if when Corbyn is speaking about increasing corporation tax, we get the whole, communism, what a communist, all this kind of stuff, right? And now is like Boris Johnson the communist now? I don't understand. Like, or Rishi Sunak, I guess. Like, it's such hypocritical media coverage as well, just aimed to red scare you, and instead of actually looking into the benefits of increasing corporation tax and looking deeper into, I guess, more ideas of trickle down economics, etc.
Yeah, I mean,
But
John McDonnell, like he kind of puts it in a very good way. He's kind of saying like how Rishi Sunak kind of he stole their rhetoric around
yeah,
economic policies, but has no substance to what they're doing.
yeah, it's actually true. I saw quite a lot on like left-wing Twitter, kind of the idea that John McDonnell formed like a new economic consensus in the way of like with regards to approaching these sorts of problems and stuff,
Yeah.
even if substantively it's less than what John McDonnell would have actually proposed in the first place.
Yeah.
But it just shows, I guess, it shows how although the left have had a real shift towards the right, over the since the 80s essentially, with regards to just how our views are perceived in terms of just public opinion. It also shows how we can flip that if we demonstrate and show and really flesh out how these how certain policy ideas can really materially benefit people.
Yeah, I mean, this is like it's kind of another topic, but I think like the biggest win for the left, American and the UK left, was on many key ideas. Like conversations have shifted. No matter, there's a lot of reluctance to still implement these policies, but there's kind of been a shift in the conversation, and you can see that in the UK now with this new budget.
Yeah.
And how he how we dealt with the pandemic throughout the whole process, and even in America, certain issues like Medicare for all has been pushed to the forefront. And like it's given like, for example, like $15 minimum wage, which might not end up passing. We'll discuss that later, but that's also there's been pressure to move towards that consensus, and you can see with Biden at least voicing his support for now. We'll see if it
materializes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I will say that. I mean, like, I don't want to give a false impression that the left is like some extremely strong political force or anything as of right now. But I will say that, yeah, the conversation has shifted. Also, like with regards to like Bernie Sanders, I guess, with the idea, oh, billionaires shouldn't exist, etc. Well, that's not a Bernie Sanders like campaign per se, but he's amplified that view quite a lot. And so, yeah, there is. It is nice to see some of these things kind of shift from more of a social media activism standpoint of like, oh yeah, corporations pay more tax, and then actually get corporations to pay more tax. I think that's a pretty big W. So should we go on to Summer's response?
There's one more thing I think.
Okay.
Another positive. I think. I mean, it's not really positive, but I guess it shows a shift from, as I said, the Tory orthodoxy, and that's there was quite a bit of focus around funding other areas of England, as opposed to just focusing on London, with the Towns Fund.
Yeah.
1 billion is not I don't think it's not that much. You do see a shift, at least to some degree, towards trying to cater to other parts of England. But as we discussed the negatives, there's a lot of negatives.
Yeah.
A lot of negatives that will ultimately affect, the more working class areas of Britain. So
yeah, also
at least in funding, there's
the town fund
slight shift.
Yeah, the town fund which you mentioned does though have a lot of like I don't know if you've seen the controversy surrounding it, but essentially so 40 out of like the 45 areas which have been, I think, confirmed to have 1 billion in cash relief are from Conservative MPs. Yeah. And like, you know what? If what would actually happen was that all 40 of these 45 towns were genuinely the most in need constituencies, I'd be like, sure, like it doesn't matter what political affiliation they have, as long as if the ones who need the most money get it, right? I would say that.
Yeah,
but
I mean, I actually forgot about that. It is, I did hear that. But and it's kind of like how Trump handled the, with when it comes to, helping out different states in America.
Yeah, with COVID, yeah.
Like how he was, in comparison to New York with Miami, like there's a disparity because it's a Democrat.
Exactly,
it's crazy.
It's insane.
Yeah,
but yeah, like one of the Tory areas which were chosen was Rishi Sunak's own constituency, Richmond. In Yorkshire, which is not a bad off area. Never been there, but from what I've read. So like that, like what I'm saying is, there's I do agree though. I like the idea of shifting investment to the north and things like that. It's like it's needed for a really, really long time.
Yeah.
but also there's some caveats with that, and a little bit of party politics being played. I feel like when it comes at least to the towns fund, I'll say that.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Should we get into some of the negatives, because there's quite a lot of negatives.
Oh yeah, you go, pop off.
Pop off. Yeah, as I said, I mean, there are a lot of holes in this budget as well. You know, it's not only negatives as you would imagine. I think one of the big things is, you know, there'll be a rise in income tax, especially for lower earnings, and that is due to, you know, they're going to place a freeze on the threshold and personal allowances, and with the fact that with the forecast for inflations in the upcoming years, that means more than 1.3 million low earning workers will have to start paying income tax. So this freeze on threshold and personal allowance, as I said, it'd be very damaging to, you know, low earning workers, and this will primarily affect them. And you know, in such a tough time, this is targeting like working class communities is not the right way. You know, there's so many other ways to raise income for these this investment that and the budget. You know, so I think that's just quite an aggressive move. And also, there'll be a rise in council tax, which is another hit to, you know, working class neighborhoods who will be overwhelmingly affected by that, as opposed to just funding local governments. You know, they trying to raise money through council tax. So that could be a big issue. And as we mentioned before, the public pay freeze, which is crazy, you know,
ridiculous.
And it's not even, I don't think it makes economic sense either, because wouldn't you want to pay public workers more to stimulate the economy as well?
Yeah, and also even just like literally, like, I don't understand. It actually frustrates me so much that first of all, I mean, conservatives are doing well in polls right now, vaccine rollout, everything like that. But like, this is just another thing which they could have capitalized on. I've been like, you know what, public sector workers, you've been amazing, and so you get a raise in pay, you know. And it could have been a easy way to score political points, and I would have been all for it, because I'm down for increase in public sector worker pay. You know, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. And also, like, I mean, there was no significant policies, I think, to address inequalities that have been a result of this pandemic. You know, we've discussed the £20 uplift for universal credit, but, you know, at the end of the day, it still leaves a lot of millions of people out who are viable for it, including many people with disabilities, that they just leave them out completely. And that's just, you know, how they've treated people with disabilities during this crisis. They haven't shown any care really with how they're treating them, because I know they're overwhelmingly represented in the deaths of COVID, people with disabilities, and the fact that they left out of universal credit is also, it's crazy to me.
Also, I will also say quickly that, like, I think the idea of you know, people with disabilities being left out by conservative policies is not a recent development. Like, there were a lot of housing policies when it came to people who had disabilities, like post Thatcher, or maybe it was during Thatcher, who were like disproportionately targeted because, you know, they had like a 2-bedroom house and they needed to pay, and like, you know, obviously, basically, you know, I don't think it's a general. I think it's a general trend among party lines.
And the fact that they phasing out so many things at once. You know, they're gonna eventually phase out the £20 uplift. You know, they're going to be phasing out you know, like business rate support, you know, VAT reductions, and then all of this combined with, you know, the fact that we'll probably see unemployment rise, and it's a rise of like you know, precarious work contracts, 0-hour contracts, gig workers. And then like this, like, apparently I saw that this might, you know, result into some of the poorest families, like their incomes will fall over £80 between 1 month and the next. So I think I think this extending this upliftment is key. Again, extending it indefinitely, I think, is important. And you know, if all of these things come to a head, then it might be a disaster for the most vulnerable in our society. So
for sure.
And also, you know, there's like other weird stuff, like policies like keeping the stamp duty cuts, which will largely benefit landlords and mortgage lending banks and corporations.
Yeah.
And it just furthers the crisis of the UK housing market. And it will further increase prices, and ultimately the only people that will be able to afford this stuff will be people with a lot of money already, and it'll be harder for younger people to get on the housing ladder. So yeah,
I mean, you already see that now, like in terms of if you look back to, I guess, well, my parents' generation, so people born what 60s ish, when they were, I guess, my age now or our age now, what, like 20s, for example, the percentage of them who owned a house at this stage is miles more than what people our age, have now in terms of like owning houses, etc. So yeah, I get what you
especially in
mean.
the UK, like good old Maggie, like with her right to buy policies, like it's created a whole situation where it's it's created a situation where younger people cannot get on the housing ladder. Prices are exorbitant, and
do you see that?
See the video of oh my
that's exactly what I was gonna say. Yeah, I mean, we can play it on screen actually. Yeah, we'll play this video because we'll play it and then we'll dissect.
I work in London, I live in Buckinghamshire, but I invest up north. Right now we're in Huddersfield. This is Huddersfield. You buy a house here for like £80,000, you're going to rent it for £600. In London, you'll buy a house for £800,000. You're not going to rent it for 10 times the price. So you want to buy low, rent high, with a property manager nearby. People say, oh, but Samuel, I have to buy close to where I live so that I can keep an eye on it if there's any problems. That's not financial freedom. That's called a rope around your neck. You want to buy properties in cheap areas, you want to rent them high, and you want to have systems in place and property managers that can make it passive income so that you can have financial freedom. That's called property investing the smart way.
Okay, so essentially, as you saw, this video of this guy, essentially saying what you have to do is you have to buy in lower cost areas and then rent extremely high. And it's like landlords who do stuff like that, who charge exorbitant prices, etc., are actually like such parasites of society. It is genuinely unreal. Like, if you're a landlord, sure, like, the thing is, like, being a landlord, I guess, like, look, I mean, it depends what critique you're gonna go for. But if you're working in a capitalist framework, I guess, you're a landlord, okay, that's all fine and well, but don't be so disgusting about it. Like, charge your people who are renting your house just a solid price. Nothing too crazy. Don't try price gouge them. It's not the industry to do that. And it's like, I don't know. I just hate it. Like, I hate that video.
The video released my inner Mao Zedong. But I think it is. I think it's an issue with landlordism in general. It's just like, just making money. You're not doing anything productive. You're just making money off people, just charging people exorbitant rates, just like ruining their life.
I know. It's horrible.
Yeah, and and it's just this will only increase that issue, with the stamp duty cuts. And lastly, I think what I wanted to talk about also is just like, despite there are shifts in like how Rishi Sunak's approaching the crisis and compared to conservatives before him, but there's still he still has the idea of trying to balance the budget. I don't know if he really believes in that, or is it just rhetoric? Because
I don't know. I don't know. I think it might be. I think. Well, look, you can see it at least from the green environmental kind of investment that he's laid out. My guy is not out here promising like 400 billion pounds like the National Transformation Fund and National Investment Bank proposed. He's doing 12 billion. So really, he's not. My guy's not out here doing some transformative money spending, shall we say?
Yeah, it's really not really like. I mean, this is the opportunity, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna invest into the economy and try build industry. You might as well shape it towards industry that's green investment, and do that in a proper manner, because 12 billion is not near enough to really start this whole process of making our economy green. So yeah, it's a bit, yes, that was
This
also
whole
another negative I want to talk, like just the lack of priority in the green recovery, and
and
I think it makes sense because like I'm sure a lot of people now are not thinking of, oh, like we need to make sure the environment, like they're not focusing on the environment, like, especially like working class people. I mean, they just want to, they want to get jobs, and it's not really care about how, like, what type of job. They just want to make sure that they secure in their payments, and they're stable, So I guess, but it is the opportunity to create these stable, well-paying jobs in the green economy. So yeah, definitely a missed opportunity there.
What I will also say, just one final point on this green money set aside for green industrial revolution, is that this is the term that the conservatives use. Like the whole thing is, it's the conservatives have actually been very politically smart, at least when it comes to environmental policy. And sorry, not policy, should I say, rhetoric. Like they've adopted the rhetoric of, I feel like, the left wing with regards to green industrial revolution, but it really, as we said before, and as John McDonald, I guess, pointed out, like no real substantive information. But if you're not careful, to just, if you're just looking at the numbers, casually, 12 billion sounds like a lot of money to be investing towards something, right? But you look at it in proportion to what is actually proposed, what these agencies propose, and once you actually dig deep into it, you realize what this is not substantive. It's just a bit of it's better than nothing, but that's a really low bar to set, But it's not really what is been recommended or is needed, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. And that's. I mean, I've not much else to say about that. I mean, there is a thing. They I think also alongside this, I think and what they're gonna do at the end of the day is they're gonna be cutting spending and raising taxes to around $50 billion, which relative to the pre-pandemic plans of March 2020. So we will see. I think we will see at the end of the day. We'll see some form of austerity backlash after the spending is done to reinvigorate the economy. I think there will be some cutbacks to key services. I think I also read somewhere that certain public services, I mean the NHS right now won't be cut, because obviously you can't, because of the but some other unprotected public services, there'll be a general cut in to these services, and so it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But I mean, as we both expected, it was
It's
mostly quite a hit or miss. I think more misses, but
yeah, I feel like it's more like a return. This strikes me as a return to normal-ish kind of budget. It's okay, like not, yeah, like a kind of a return to normal, kind of like I just, not anything which I was not expecting, shall we say? I wasn't. I'm not like, it's not like we saw an end to 0-hour contract. I don't know, something like that. I don't know. It wasn't anything really transformative, but also I guess that's what we would expect. So yeah, I mean, good to cover it. Know what the next couple months lie ahead of us. The unemployment numbers, I think, as you said, is supposed to top at around 6.9 or 6.7%, which is lower than what it was projected to be before, just over 11%. So I guess that's a benefit. But I think there's also a bit of, I saw some people essentially trying to say, if it actually is true that we only get just above 6% unemployment, that'd be a good result. So maybe that's an underestimation, so I would say.
And I mean it's not horrible, but I guess will it come at a time, for example, when they plan to cut the $20 universal credit, and I'm sure it's going to be hard for them not to U-turn, I think, on that policy, because we are going to see an increase in unemployment, and people need that extra support. So it'll be interesting to see how that holds up, and if he'll stick to his word on that. But I think it'll be very hard to, and it'll be quite unpopular, I think, as well, if he does.
I think this is the thing is, though, like the pandemic was interesting because it gave the conservative government were forced to adopt, I guess, some more policies which you see on the left, right? Or like that it's advocated for on the left, right? And it's interesting now to see how, unpopular they will be once they kind of rescind these things. We saw it with free school meals, for example, how much unpopularity was brought upon the conservatives after not wanting to do it, and how much times they had to U-turn about it. And so I think we have a unique opportunity here for the policies which have been implemented, which are left-leaning, to pressure and pressure and pressure and paint them out to be the bad guy. Like, why do you want to cut the 20 pounds, right? Like, why do you want to do it? What's, and then hear what they say, because all the times the arguments given are not good ones. What was the one that given for the free school meals, that we're going to have too much inflation or something? It's going to devalue the pound. Like, if you actually take these arguments and you listen to what the justification is most times a pretty dumb response, all things considered. Final thing I want to show just on screen now is the Rebecca Long Bailey basically tweet about the budget and specifically the climate stuff. I should have brought this up a little bit earlier, but I'll give it a go. She says, hashtag, is this a joke? Facing the existential threat of climate change, and we see so little, e.g., a paltry 12 billion investment bank, shiny retail saving products, and a distant report into carbon offsetting in the City of London. A green industrial revolution, this is not. And Rebecca Long Bailey could not agree with you more in this instance.
Yeah, she actually did a great article on Tribune as well, outlining a lot of the stuff, the forest green industrial revolution, and it was just great, and a lot of what we discussed earlier on. I think she's spot on about that. I forgot. I was gonna say something else, but yeah.
That's right. With that, do you have anything else to say?
No, I'm good.
Okay, should we go into PMQs quick?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll have a little. Okay, PMQs are a little bit of a strange one, shall we say? So, the majority of at least what Keir Starmer was trying to say was with regards to Yemen, the humanitarian crisis in Yemen, which I found particularly surprising, just all things considered, with the pandemic and stuff. But I'm here though. I'm here for it because Yemen doesn't get enough attention. I feel like when it comes to the UK, recently be getting attention in the US, as Keir Starmer points out, because of the US not wanting to trade arms with Saudi Arabia anymore, which these arms in turn get used for the humanitarian crisis over there. So it's great that it's being spoken about. The reason why this is, I guess, prominent, and it's not just like extremely random, is because there's essentially going to be a cut to aid to Yemen by 50%. And so, that's why it just came up into a conversation. Boris Johnson kept on saying, we've paid billions to Yemen, the people of Yemen for the past couple of years. But what I would say to this is, homie, it would actually help people who live in Yemen, not cutting the aid that you're going to give to them, and also not trading arms or selling arms to the country, which is killing them, killing Yemenis people, right? So it was interesting to see him try to escape this one, because on the one hand he's like, we're so good, we give them aid, look how much aid we're getting to them, while at the same time their aid being cut, and also they're not really addressing some of the root causes of the arms with Saudi Arabia. Would you have anything to add on that?
Not much. I think it is good that we finally, as you said, it's a surprise because there's so much stuff going on. I'm surprised that Yemen was such a big topic in the PMQs, but it's about time. I think that it's not only America who's bringing the issue up, and the UK also has to follow suit and reckon with themselves, with their role in this whole conflict. I have to say with the US, it is good that he stopped. I think it's a bit more nuanced than just stop giving arms. I think they're not supporting them on offensive attacks, but I think the US is supporting when it comes to defensive acts. So it's a bit different. It's an improvement, obviously, but still, it's not the 100% stop support of Saudi. In the UK, I think they have to follow suit as well. Because we've discussed it on this show before. It is the biggest humanitarian crisis of our time. You know, millions of people and children are at the brink of, you know, of dying from malnourishment.
Yeah.
And it's just, yeah, I mean, yes, it's just crazy. I mean, there's nothing else to say. I mean, and yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously, I think it's a fact that we have to stop our support of Saudi. I mean, ideally, like in everything,
Yeah.
to disassociate ourselves with them.
Yeah.
But also, yeah, financially support Yemen. You know.
Yeah.
And yeah, just to improve their conditions and also, you know, yeah, uplift them from the situation. But
Yeah.
not much else to say other than what we already know. And I think, yeah, it's about hopefully, you know, Boris follows suit with the US, but we'll have to see on that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, in my eyes, the policy has to be something like, okay, we stop with Saudi, hopefully. And then another thing is like, you can't just stop after like being so destructive for how many, it's like multiple years at this point, right?
Yeah.
So there has to be something built into that where you are there to rebuild the country, but not rebuilding in like the IMF coercion kind of sense.
That'd probably be the case if we.
I know that would be the case, but I'm saying like, but idealistically, you wouldn't want a situation where like okay, we'll stop you know, helping your country get destroyed, and we'll actually help you rebuild because we take accountability of our actions. But I don't think that's what will be done, to be honest.
No, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, yeah, if in the ideal world we just let them be, but I doubt that would be the case. Yeah, but yeah, I mean,
it is also interesting because Keir Starmer did bring up the U.S., you know, in this whole exchange during PMQs, and I'm interested to see, I guess, what the UK does, because this kind of, I guess, is one of the defining policies with regards to how the US UK consensus in some ways approaches global politics, and so we'll see. I guess well, hopefully there'll be more developments on this, and we'll see if the UK does full-on follow suit with the if the UK fully follows suit with the US, or if there's going to be some divergence in the way the two countries think about things, you know. And this could also be linked into I don't know, just trade deals, etc., things post Brexit, and things like that. So yeah, I guess discussing the US, shall we go on to my man, Sleepy Joe?
Good.
Yeah. Okay. So what you want to start on? $15 minimum wage. Should we start with that?
Yeah, we can start on that.
Okay. So Sleepy Joe. I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna call him Sleepy Joe. I'll call him Joe Biden. Joe Biden. He, you know, he had a bit of a populist rhetoric, I would say, at on some issues on his campaign trail. One of the big things, he was like, you know, got to have a $15 minimum wage. I'm here with you, Joe. I'm loving it. You know, I'm here for it. Okay. And, you know, time goes on, you know, he gets in office. That's great. That's great. I'm happy for it. We're going to get a $15 minimum wage. And then now, all of a sudden, it's been tried to get through by reconciliation in this coronavirus, you know, relief bill. Okay. And so, but to be fair, like, it makes sense for it to be in the relief bill because it has and go through reconciliation because it has massive impacts on like the budget of the US. So that it makes sense. But this parliamentarian, this unelected, you know, official, is
hardly any power.
Hardly any power. She's just is it
a suggestion?
It's just a suggestion. Yeah, this is literally just a suggestion. It's not like you know, they can't overrule this, right? Kamala Harris can overrule this decision if she wants to. Okay, and so yeah, this parliamentarian just suggests, you know what, maybe we shouldn't have it, this $15 minimum wage. And so then Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, like the corporatists, I guess they are like, okay, I respect the process. I respect the Senate parliamentarian. Yeah, it's very convenient. I respect, you know, that we can't get this advice is too, you know, invaluable, and we can't override them. But you know what? People override the Senate parliamentarian all the time. Bill Clinton overrode it, or not Bill Clinton specifically, but like when he was in power, it was overridden when it came to introducing tax cuts. So Joe Biden if you really are all down for this $15 minimum wage, which we all should be because it's like $7.25 right now, which is unbelievably low in 2021.
And that's it. May I add, like it's not gonna change overnight to $15 minimum wage. Like it's a gradual increase, you know. Or is it 3 or 5 years? I forget,
Yeah,
but
it's something like that. It's not like we're waking up, in a couple of days as soon as the relief bill.
and who knows, like in that amount of time, like with inflation, like 15, we don't know
Yeah.
if that would be even sufficient even.
Well,
Like,
I mean, if you go with inflation or peg it to inflation, it's supposed to be over $20 the minimum wage, or just around $20. So it's already lower than it should actually be. But obviously there's other considerations when factoring in the $15 minimum wage, and so it's we have to go through this step. But anyway, the point is that they could definitely override the Senate parliamentarian, and it would have to go to a vote, and the Democrats would have to have 50 votes, and that would be a little bit difficult because we have my guy Joe Manchin. Am I saying that right?
yeah.
He's who is the most conservative Democrat in the Democratic caucus. My guy sides with with Republicans on loads of voting matters. And so, but even there, if you still wanted it though, you could definitely negotiate with Joe Manchin. Like, look, you vote with us on this $15 minimum wage, we get it through, and then maybe I can throw some things in for your state. Or maybe I can do something to help you get reelected, or whatever it may be, like that's what can happen. We can play politics with this and actually get it done if we wanted to. But Joe Biden does not want to do it, and it's the perfect solution for him. This is the perfect solution for Joe Biden. I tried, guys. It's the Senate parliamentarian. Like, I can't believe it. It's the perfect solution. He can just back off with it when he wants to, and yeah, I don't know, just annoying.
Yeah, I think Sleepy Joe's full of malarkey with this one,
Yeah, literally, yeah.
No, but it's like, it just gives ammo to the Republicans. You say the Democrats are talking no action, as Trump said that so often, and they went big on the Biden went big on the $15 minimum wage, and before the $2,000 check, which is that was backtracked, and now this looks likely that it won't go through as well. So it just shows there's just rhetoric, to win, and gain more popularity. It's not like they really stick to their word that often. And as we said, it's like it's not even a sudden increase to 15. So I really think they should, as you said, it's the perfect example. It's just perfect situation for them just to say, well, we tried, but I think people are onto that. They can't overrule it, and it's not a big thing that Senate parliamentarians suggested that. So yeah, it is quite typical.
It's annoying. It's just so annoying. Like, I don't know.
I wonder if there's a way for progressives to counteract. Like, I saw David Sirota, who is a journalist, and also he worked in the Bernie campaign. For like the progressives in the House to vote against it, or to vote against the bill in order to get to ensure the $15 minimum wage. But I'm very doubtful that will happen.
Oh, to hold up the COVID relief bill.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's wise though.
Because they don't want to obstruct. Joe Manchin doesn't care at all, but the progressives, I don't think they'll do that.
I think they have a lot. I think the progressive have a lot to lose if they try hold up the in terms of popularity, etc., which is important. Like, we have to keep at least some form of progressive candidates in the Senate, I guess. Yeah. But just the $15 minimum wage thing absolutely sucks. And we speak about voter disillusionment. Voter disillusionment is a big issue, especially in a country as big as the US. To be fair, 2020 election, huge voter turnout, but also very extraordinary circumstances, I would say, at least in my analysis, Yeah. But imagine voting for this guy and being paid $7.25 an hour. And over the next 5 years, you're going to be getting a doubling of your salary, more or less, right? Even more. Imagine how, angry and disillusioned you must be that this unelected person who's literally just giving advice can hold up you like a doubling over doubling in your material needs, I guess, or like your the amount of money you make from your job. It's unbelievable.
Crazy, yeah.
You know, like, and so of course people like it's you know, if you run on these platforms, then all of a sudden you don't keep your word for anything, and then you get surprised when someone like Trump or I guess Ted Cruz not so much anymore, but people who right wingers which have this pro working class rhetoric, but again aren't substantive in their policies. You know, you get to, why would you be surprised if these people gain popularity? You know, because they're promising the same things as you, and sure they may not deliver on it, but at least it's more refreshing than having the same old politicians underdeliver the whole time. You know, so of course people will start looking elsewhere.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's a bit, yeah, it's just sad situation. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, not much else to say, but I mean, yeah, it doesn't look positive, I guess, you know, because
No.
yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah. No,
Not much else
nothing.
to say. I mean, but I'm not surprised, you know, because I've expected this from Biden, you know. That's
Yeah.
the type of politician he is.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
would say, I mean, should we go into the union, which kind of did
Yeah.
surprise me.
Yeah, this is yeah. Go for it.
Okay, yeah. So right now there's a big drive to unionize in Alabama, especially in the Amazon workhouse. But there's other unionizing efforts in other companies as well in that region. You know, I think it's a very important case because Amazon is notoriously difficult to unionize, and if this goes through, then I think it will give a big boost to the labor movement in America.
Yeah.
And it's just a great victory for the workers there in Alabama, and I think that'd be a big positive, and maybe will give the confidence to workers. You know,
Also,
if you can win in the Deep South in the toughest company to unionize,
Yeah.
you can win, and you can gain power anywhere. You know.
yeah. Also, maybe if the unionization occurs, Amazon workers won't have to piss in a bottle when they instead of actually getting toilet breaks like they don't get now.
It's probably the harshest conditions, but also the hardest to unionize because you know.
Yeah.
The tactics that they use are crazy. They spy on people.
It's insane.
Like intimidation. Like
if you read any trade union reports on like working conditions in Amazon, it's actually terrifying. The amount of stuff that they employ to try spy on their workers. It's unreal.
And just the demands are outrageous. So yeah, I mean it is a big thing, and you know there's been a big fight on Amazon's part to stop this. Like it's full of anti-union you know adverts, like even like on like videos, like they post an anti-union adverts. And yeah, so it's a big fight right now, and they're gonna do a vote on it soon. So it is key, and you know, I never expected Biden, you know, to come out and support the unions, but he did, to my great surprise and to my credit. You know, I just want to show the video quickly for the people where he you know talks about his support, and you know he basically proclaims that you know the workers have the right to choose. So you can see the video here.
I've long said America wasn't built by Wall Street. It was built by the middle class, and unions built the middle class. Unions put power in the hands of workers. They level the playing field. They give you a stronger voice for your health, your safety, higher wages, protections from racial discrimination and sexual harassment. Unions lift up workers, both union and non-union, and especially black and brown workers. I've made it clear when I was running that my administration's policy would be to support unions organizing and the right to collectively bargain. I'm keeping that promise. You should all remember, the National Labor Relations Act didn't just say that unions are allowed to exist. It said that we should encourage unions. So let me be really clear. It's not up to me to decide whether anyone should join a union. But let me be even more clear. It's not up to an employer to decide that either. The choice to join a union is up to the workers, full stop. Full stop. Today and over the next few days and weeks, workers in Alabama and all across America are voting on whether to organize a union in their workplace. This is vitally important, a vitally important choice, as America grapples with the deadly pandemic, the economic crisis, and the reckoning on race. What it reveals the deep disparities that still exist in our country. And there should be no intimidation, no coercion, no threats, no anti-union propaganda. No supervisor, no supervisor should confront employees about their union preferences. You know, every worker should have a free and fair choice to join a union. The law guarantees that choice. And it's your right, not that of an employer. It's your right. No employer can take that right away. So make your voice heard. God bless you all, and may God protect the workers and their families who are trying to figure out how to make it fairly. Thank you.
So as you can see, I mean, at least, you know, for the last how many decades, this is the most pro-union, video. I mean, most pro-union support from any sitting president, you know. And I mean, I have to give credit where credit is due. Like, this is a big step that was unexpected, and he was very clear, you know, in what he was saying. You know,
Yeah.
the workers, full stop, have the choice to unionize. Then they shouldn't be intimidated. They shouldn't have any anti-union propaganda.
Yeah.
And he said they have the right. So I mean, yeah, I mean, that's great news. You know, it's just it's a shift, you know, and I'm surprised because, you know, he did have a conflict of interest in donors from Amazon, you know, leading up to presidential elections, which is a surprise. And I think it could be a result of public pressure, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's good. So it's great.
Yeah. I think probably a public pressure situation, definitely. I think that's probably what led him to that. But also, he's not also coming out though with any policy which would like
They're doing the Pro Act, which will, like, I mean, I'm not too familiar with all the specific details, but it is an act that will help workers more easily unionize.
Okay,
yeah,
no,
I mean,
I stand corrected.
Let's see if that passes and if it comes into play, because I can
Yeah.
imagine there's a lot of roadblocks to that. And
Yeah.
you know, you never know if it will eventually come through with Biden. You don't know, you know, but hopefully it does, and it is being put forward. So hopefully, you know.
Well, in that case, I mean, yeah, fair play to Joe Biden.
Joe Manchin's going to be resisting it with all he can for that one.
Yeah, I mean, look, the thing is, the big thing is, I think look, these donors definitely have massive says in terms of what these politicians do and don't. But I also think past like a critical amount of public pressure, the politicians eventually cave, you know, because they want to be in charge for another couple of years, right?
Yeah.
They want to be. So I guess definitely a consequence of public pressure, and I support it. But it's weird, like it's just strange to Joe Biden's behavior, like the idea, you know, he's all for the minimum wage passing, etc. Oh, sorry, he's like he's being very stingy on the minimum wage passing, etc. But then he's at the same time all this pro union stuff, you know. So there's. I'm here for it. Like I'm like, you know, I would love more union, easier for it to join unions, etc. Like that's good. But I'm saying it's. I wish he was a bit more consistent, shall I say, in his approach.
I wonder, do you think, like, with the Senate parliamentarian, like being so listening to it so much, you think it's because I know he prides himself on, you know, like etiquette, you know, and being like, you know, presidential. Do you think this is the case that he wants to go with the procedures properly, and he just wants to avoid any conflict in that sense, or do you think there's a general like hesitance? I don't know.
I think it's a mix. I think there's a portion of Joe Biden that's being marketed as, I'm a proper president. Okay, I go by the rules. I play by it. I'm not, you know, some slimy politician, etc. Right? Like I think that's the DC mindset of like how we're gonna portray Joe Biden. You know, it's Joe. You know, he's Joe. He's chilling. You know, he's gonna play things by the rule book, right? And then at the same time, though, I think that is also a sort of cover for him not actually really wanting to do it, because if he wanted to really do it, then he would, you know, do what we laid out, you know, override the parliamentarian. And I don't think people in America genuinely care if Joe Biden is being all presidential and stuff. What really matters, or I guess to a certain degree, okay, let me say to a certain degree, because people, for example, didn't like Trump and how he behaved in that presidential way. But if Joe Biden just cuts back on that to a certain point, but then also plays hardball and doesn't just cave on something like the $15 minimum wage, then then I think it could then people will prefer that, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I'm sure it must be quite popular, like his support for unions and with the general public. I know, like the union membership is at an all-time low, but I still think the attitudes towards unions are not necessarily negative with the public, Yeah. So I think, I mean, it's a good endorsement, and hopefully it's followed up with the PRO Act, which will make it easier for people to unionize. And yeah, so
I mean,
credits to him.
Yeah, credits him on that. I think generally, I at least I don't know. I get this at least when I'm in London, shall I say? I get this. Whereas like the messaging and like the views surrounding unions are really not too positive and stuff. But I guess that's more of a phenomenon of the south of England more generally.
I think there's old tropes about them, like
Yeah,
corrupt and like corrupt leadership, blah, blah, blah.
exactly. But like the principles of,
But also, London's a financial capital, so you can understand like a bit of.
We can't extrapolate that to the rest of the but like just in general, like I always hate when people like bash on the idea of unionization, etc. Like it makes so much sense. You have to collectively bargain. You have to one being held to like bound together or whatever is a much stronger position than a than just on your own.
Do you see Tim Pool and Gravel Institute? They were arguing.
Yeah. I mean, what he said. Well, we can put the tweets up on screen here just now for you guys to see. But yeah, I mean, what he said essentially was like, oh, shouldn't they have the right to choose or whatever? And like, I think this is a general phenomenon in the US of like, there's an obsession with like the right to choose with these kind of things, and it's just like a cover up for not actually getting union representation.
Like what are you gonna do alone? Like you beg your boss for, right? It's not gonna, like this. You're so much more likely to improve your condition if you go as a group together to demand raise.
Yeah.
You go by yourself begging your worker, and begging your boss. Sorry, it's not gonna work. But yeah, I think these two sets of news is like so contradictory, but I mean I guess this is good,
Yeah, we got to take it where we can,
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah,
I mean that wouldn't be happening under Trump, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, something that's really been annoying me recently on the online left has been the whole like I understand I think the Democratic and Republican Party, they represent the same power structures, I think, generally, right?
Yeah.
The idea of like the that the Democratic and Republican Party are identical is annoying, especially when you have people like Ryan Knight and Brianna Joy Gray, who are constantly on a on that, I don't want to say grift, but on that line of reasoning, shall I say?
I do think they overall they represent the same power structure. Like
yeah, I agree with that. But I think
it just tinkers on the fringes,
I guess. But like even no, they definitely have this. They represent the same power structures. Like you don't see the Democrats coming out for like socialism or anything like that. It's not that's not a mainstream ideology in it. Or even something like social democracy. That's not really. I mean, Bernie Sanders, but that's not the majority held view of the Democratic Party. But when it comes to like, I know we say they differ in social issues, etc. Right? But like these social issues do also are also a big deal for many people. Yeah. And so that's just one thing that I just wanted to raise. Just been bothering me. I don't know why. Just recently. But yeah.
I mean, economically speaking, I think. It's so much of a muchness, it's not.
Yeah, no, definitely economically speaking, I agree with that.
Yeah. But
speaking of the Republicans and the Democrats being two sides of the same coin in some aspects, shall we move? Oh yeah, shall we move on to foreign policy?
Lincoln, that guy, I hate that guy so much.
Yeah, he's not
following in the footsteps of Pompeo.
I know.
Jesus,
I tweeted about this. He wants to escalate with Iran. I think he wants to. He's not doing too good at the Syria stuff. So okay, we should actually explain what the Syria situation is for those who don't know.
Yeah.
So there was just recently a bombing in Syria, which I believe killed just over 20 people.
22, I think.
22 people. And this sucks because it's taken Joe Biden 30 odd days or maybe 40 days to bomb, Syria, which is horrendous. And yeah, I mean, it's just a continuation of things that Trump did.
Wasn't it on like a Iranian linked like a base, something like that?
Yeah, I think the general thing is like there was some like attack or something like that on a U.S. military not base, something to do with the U.S. essentially was attacked over there, and then this was a retaliation, I think. But still, just not good escalatory business from the U.S., I guess.
But yeah, I mean, as we obviously, any intervention in Syria, I think is genuinely bad. Obviously,
just get out.
Yeah, and I mean, the whole thing with Iran is just doing my head in, because like we screwed them over, and are we expecting them to just give up everything to go back to the negotiation table, and then we attack like a military base, and then like what do you expect them to do? Like just make the same mistake? Like you have to show some humility as well, and show that you're serious about renegotiating instead of being aggressive to them.
For people who don't know as well, we're referencing the Iran. Just to.
And it's just like once again, it's going against his promise again to rejoin it.
Yeah.
And it's decreasing the chances of peace treaty again. And it's just annoying. And
yeah, extremely.
Also with Blinken, with like I saw his tweets about like Palestine and Israel. Like he's saying like it's unreasonable to investigate. It's unfair to investigate Israel on Palestinian crimes, which is crazy.
Yeah. It's also insane considering the fact, like in terms of vaccine distribution as well. Like, have you seen that the vaccine apartheid online?
Yeah.
That Israel's vaccinated. It was like relative to the amount of Israelis vaccinated. It was like genuinely so many less Palestinians. I think it was like 0% for a really long time. I don't know if that's changed though, but yeah.
I mean, there is like they say, I don't know what they say, like the Oslo Accords makes Palestine be independent on their own medical thing. But then I think the Geneva Convention overrides that, and then allowing that they have to provide vaccines to these populations.
Yeah.
But hypothetically, say if it is their responsibility to vaccinate themselves, but it's not, but let's say it is. You're gonna block all the aid that comes into their area, and then tell them to vaccinate themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, anyway, it's not about that, but I just think it's crazy that it thinks it's unfair to investigate Israel.
Yeah, I mean, no country or like nowhere is we should be able to, if there's things warranting investigate. No country's above that. That's like just as a general principle. I don't understand his line of reasoning. I saw a funny tweet of like of John McCain like in the sky, and he was looking down on like on I think it was Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, and it was like finally a war with Iran, and just like obviously foreshadowing increasing tensions with Iran. But if there ever was to be a war with Iran, that would be like genuinely catastrophic in terms of deaths and things like that with regards to U.S. troops. I'm under the impression it would be worse in many respects than when compared to Afghanistan, which is considered, or in Iraq even, which is considered horrendous anyway.
Yeah. Also, you're saying how continuing that support for Juan Guaido in Venezuela.
Yeah.
Who's, I mean, you can criticize. Obviously, Nicolas Maduro has done a lot of stuff bad, and a lot of like, I mean, you can say he's not a great guy, obviously, but
there's also nuance there.
Yeah, there's a lot of nuance, and the reasons for Venezuela there's a lot of reasons for where they are right now.
Blockades, etc. as well.
Obviously, there's a lot of corruption and mismanagement in the country for sure, but he's not a legitimate leader of the country. Even the EU don't recognize him anymore.
Yeah.
But the US continues to recognize Guaido.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, obviously, it's just to make an example out of them, because they're a country with a lot of resources, and they don't toe American line.
Yeah.
But obviously, there's a lot of criticism to be had with the government and the Bolivarian revolution in general. Obviously, there's a lot of criticism, a lot of corruption, a lot of mismanagement of the economy, a lot of dependence on oil. But that's been going on for a while.
Yeah.
But just like, this path of aggression, I just don't think it hasn't worked.
No.
There was a report done actually from the US, I think it was from the US State Department, which shows that their sanctions have caused the death of 40,000 Venezuelans.
Yeah.
So some people can't get general supplies, and
medicine's a big one.
And you're just worsening their crisis. That is already present there. You just sharpening it, and it's gonna affect the people that live there,
Yeah.
And it's not causing any overthrow of the government, it's just making people more vulnerable there. So I don't think it's the right strategy.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So just continuing the same things.
It's
the same rhetoric about China, saying it's going to be the biggest threat moving forward.
Yeah,
it's the same thing as
Pompeo. It's almost like a rehashing of some like Cold War tactics. I
want to discuss China more in depth soon, because there's a lot of things that they're doing that it is challenging world power, and that's going to lead to a lot of Cold War tactics. I think moving forward, but
exactly.
I think that's for another day, because there's a lot of stuff that's happens. But
definitely. Maybe for a more in-depth episode. That would be going to definitely.
Just the rhetoric is similar to Pompeo. And
it's just
damaging.
Yeah, exactly. And to be fair, it's what we expected. We covered the some of the cabinet appointees of Joe Biden's, and we knew Anthony Blinken, or am I saying that right? I think I am. He was going to be a bit of a nightmare when it came to foreign policy, and just perpetuate, as we were saying before, same systems and tactics as the Republican Party does, because he is a war hawk, and it's horrible. Hasn't worked. Yeah. And I don't know if there's much else to say on my side when it comes to that, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's just exactly. I mean, it's just the military-industrial complex. Both Republicans and Democrats stick to the same line for the most part.
Yeah.
And also one more case, we saw with Obama. One good thing he did was, establish diplomatic ties with Cuba.
Yeah.
But now, there's no sign of that getting reversed.
Yeah.
And as similar with Venezuela, it's just ultimately damages the people, and you've been doing it for 60 years. It's not going to change anything,
Exactly.
And obviously, all these countries have they have the right to be criticized. I mean, they operate under much harsher conditions than most countries, but they have the right to be criticized for sure.
Yeah.
But there's so many countries regionally there in South America who are allies of US who have done so much human rights abuses as well. Colombia kills they've killed thousands of land activists, just kill them because they pose a threat to the right-wing establishment there. It's just so much abuse has happened, but it flies for them because they're allies, Yeah. But these other countries are not held to the same standard because they stand against certain American ideals. So it's just going to be an ineffective policies all around. And I mean, I don't have much hope on the foreign policy side.
Not as right now. I mean, to be fair, I mean, with Cuba, for example, I'm not really surprised that Joe Biden hasn't really done much on it. I feel like Joe Biden's of the breed and age of politician in which things with Cuba would be left untouched.
I saw a poll actually recently by Cuban Americans, and the blockade is not as popular as I thought. I think a lot of the people are against it, because so a lot of I'm sure even Republican Cubans also, for some of them, realize the damage because a lot of people from America send money back to Cuba, and now they're not allowed to, so they cannot support their family. So I'm sure that's really bothering them because.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was going to say. Also, it's annoying because Cuba specifically, if the U.S. actually wanted to establish ties and stuff with them, they could probably really benefit of some of the medicinal advances that Cuba has undergone, for example. And you could start establishing certain relations that way, etc. Yeah. But there's pathways to go down, but we just don't explore them.
CNN actually did a segment with this lady who's working with Cuban doctors to bring the lung cancer vaccine to the U.S. And it just shows like, there's so much to be gained from this relationship, and obviously it'll ease so much hardship in Cuba if you establish ties. Sorry.
Yeah, establish ties.
It's not going to die. The people overwhelmingly, they support their socialist system. It's gave them many gains.
Yeah.
Compared to the Batista regime, which
really
was
bad.
damaging.
You're really bad, and also
People realize it.
US propped up Batista as well. Like that's the thing. Like it's it's also, I mean, the US has added like a full-fledged terrorist campaign against Cuba for like decades, and they bombed factories, they killed people all the time. That's also the annoying part of it.
Cubans are not stupid. They see this, and obviously, I think they are a proud nation, and they overwhelmingly do support their socialist system.
Yeah.
So it's not going to die. Like the support's not. You're not going to kill the support by strangling them economically, because they know the reason for this economic hardship. They realize the effects of the
sanctions.
So it's not like they're going to hate their government. They realize that it's your government who's causing the issues.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no.
It doesn't make sense. It's ineffective.
Exactly. It's just a rehashing of a failed outlook of how to operate in global politics.
But they have the Monroe Doctrine, that they want to carry on in South America and try make them toe the line to American Western capital.
Yeah,
but,
exactly.
There's a movement against it, with the Pink Tide a few years ago, and also with the winning of Mas in Bolivia, with even after they ousted Evo Morales, and then also in Ecuador, which we'll discuss another time as well.
Yes, we will get to that eventually.
Andres Arauz, who is who's he's like the successor of the Pink Tide government of Rafael Correa. He's in line to win in the next elections. So they've had years after the Pink Tide of more neoliberal governments, but they don't want it. They want to go back to policies that don't toe the line of the neoliberalism and IMF and World Bank policies. They want to move to something different, and it's been shown all over in different countries. So it's just a failed project, and hopefully I would have liked them to move forward, but I don't think it's gonna happen. There'll be resistance.
Yeah, definitely agreed. Okay.
Anyway, that was a bit of a rant.
A bit of a ramble at the end.
But their foreign policy is just it's annoying me.
It's annoying. It has to be unpacked because I mean, to be fair, it goes. People speak about it quite often, but I feel like you need to, especially with some of the more left-leaning countries, you have to really unpack some of the nuance in the conversation, etc.
I think we don't realize that the attacks on all different angles, economically, socially, to destabilize these countries.
Exactly.
But yeah.
So that is episode 9 finished. Thank you, Samuel. Everyone else, thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, comment, share, everything like that, and we will see you all in the next episode. Bye.
See you.